What's going on? What's crack-a-lackin', my peoples? How you doing? I'm Jerry Quickly, and this is happening. Happy to be spending this Monday before Thanksgiving with y'all all. Let's just jump right into it, and we're going to start off with this clip of Katy Tur on MSNBC talking about Republicans' dog whistle racism, and we're taking your calls this hour because I need you, my co-pilots, to get this GPS set up for me. I need you to work the black box while I do the approach, okay? 818-985. What kind of equipment you on, son? Answer. Better be a Skymaster. Call us up at 818-985-5-MASTER. 818-985-5735. That's 818-985-KPFK. I'm Jerry Quickly. This is happening, and let's give a listen to this clip of Katy Tur talking about Republicans' dog whistle racism.
Two senators representing Mississippi. She is set to face Democrat Mike Espy in a runoff later this month. Espy was the first black Mississippian elected to Congress since Reconstruction. He was a member of the U.S. House from 1987 to 1993. Right now, Hyde-Smith is far and away the favorite to win the runoff for Senate. But over the weekend, a video of a comment she made at an event on November 2nd had surfaced. In it, she is heard praising a supporter in, curious terms.
I would fight a circle song for me if he invited me to a public hanging at me on the front row.
A public hanging. In Mississippi, that's usually called a lynching. Regardless of the senator's intentions, it is impossible to view those comments outside the context of a brutal history of racial terror. We should note the senator stands by her comments, and she denies any racist implications. But the senator's comments aren't the only example of a Republican candidate blowing the dog whistle in this election cycle. Remember this?
He is an articulate spokesman for those far-left views. The last thing we need to do is to monkey this up by trying to embrace a socialist agenda.
Monkey this up. That was Florida's next governor, Ron DeSantis, potentially their next governor. After he learned his opponent in that election would be Andrew Gillum, a black man, he warned Floridians to not monkey this up. That's not even a real phrase. Then there's the president. The president had his own choice words for Andrew Gillum earlier this month, calling the mayor of Tallahassee a thief. Or how about last week when he called journalist April Ryan nasty and a loser? Don't forget when the president called Omarosa, his own former aide, a lowlife and a dog. Or his consistent insistence that Congressman Maxine Waters, a 27-year veteran of Congress, is a low IQ person. Or when he referred to Haiti and a number of African nations as S-hole countries. Except, of course, he didn't say the word S-hole, he said the full word. This is to say nothing of the president's introduction to the political stage, birtherism, the racist conspiracy theory that Barack Obama was a con man lying about being born in the United States.
Yeah, and the hits from Trump just keep coming. We're taking your calls here at 818-985-5735. That's 818-985-KPFK. How important do you believe Trump's racism is to his policymaking and the chaos that we find ourselves in? Is the racism that Trump believes in, and that his Klan father and racist grandfather support, is that racism simply, as far as Trump is concerned, a happy outgrowth of being a thoughtful, elderly, white conservative guy? Or is it a central element of policy to create misery and to drive misery of people that you don't like? It's like some conservative version of, it's good to see like the Conan the Barbarian, to see your enemy driven before you. It's heartless. It is cowardly. Trump pretends he's like some kind of alpha male. Really? Because I don't know. I didn't think that alpha males paid their lovers to be quiet. I didn't think that alpha males hired security or needed security. I thought that alpha males, it hasn't been 50 or 60 years since they had a fist fight. In the first place, your concept of alpha male is stupid and ridiculous and knuckle dragging and outdated. But let's be clear. You most assuredly are not that thing which you fetishize. You're not even beta. You're super beta. Taking your calls here at 818-985-5735. That's 818-985-KPFK. Let's stop. I want to play this clip. This is Trump. This is less than 2 weeks ago. there was the most horrific and lethal attack on American Jewish communities in the nation's history at the Tree of Life Synagogue and Temple in Squirrel Hill in Pittsburgh. The most horrific attack on American Jews in history. The gunman had many friends and links politically and socially to other white supremacists, surprise, surprise, including white supremacists who attended rallies like Charlottesville, where Trump said there are good people on both sides. Remember that? When Trump said there are good people on both sides, just 2 nights earlier, Nazis, fascists, and white supremacists flowed by a synagogue in Charlottesville on Friday night that was in the middle of worship. And they shouted, "Jews will not replace us." And they didn't just walk by the front of the synagogue. They flowed around all sides of the synagogue because they wanted to make sure that everyone inside was terrified. What if you were a 4-year-old Jewish boy or a 4-year-old Jewish girl with your parents and grandparents at your place of worship that night? You will never forget the night a group of white supremacists threatened your entire congregation. Women, children, et al. And Donald Trump said there were good people on both sides, and some of those good peoples linked up with the shooter at the Tree of Life Synagogue in Squirrel Hill, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. One of the people that was close to the shooter was so close with him that in the wake of the mass killing at the synagogue, one of his white supremacist friends killed himself, exposing other links between these friends of Trump and the synagogue killer. And less than 2 weeks after this has occurred, Trump launches into an open anti-Semitic attack on a sitting U.S. congressperson by calling Representative Adam Schiff, referring to him in a tweet in an anti-Semitic and entirely disrespectful way, calling Representative Adam Schiff and Trump intentionally misspelled his last name, Schitt, in an effort to associate this sitting American Jewish congressperson's last name with fecal matter. This is just 2 weeks after the most lethal and horrific attack on American Jews in the history of our republic. What's it going to take? I don't understand. What's it going to take to get people in the streets to end this? Because that's how this is going to end ultimately. This is not going to end in the courts. This is going to end in the streets. What does it take? What does it take to wake us up and make us more supportive of the targets of Trump's attack and the people he seeks to oppress? Because at this point, the only people he hasn't gone after are wealthy Americans and wealthy Russians. Everyone else has ended up on Trump's target list. Navy SEALs, you're on the list. Congress people, you're on the list. Journalist, is she black? I don't know. If she's black, she's probably a racist. Let's give a listen to Trump giving it to Yamiche Alcindor for asking the question about Trump's use of the term nationalist and whether or not that, in fact, emboldens white nationalists. This is the President of the United States being asked a legitimate question at a news conference and calling the brilliant black journalist who asked this legitimate question a racist. Here it is, y'all. Here it is.
Yamiche Alcindor with PBS NewsHour. On the campaign trail, you called yourself a nationalist. Some people saw that as emboldening white nationalists. Now people are also
I don't know
saying
why you'd
that
say
the
that.
president.
That's such a racist
There are
question.
some people that say that now the Republican Party is seen as supporting white nationalists
Oh, I
because
don't
of your
believe
rhetoric.
that. I don't
What do
believe
you make
that.
of that?
I don't believe it. I don't know. Why do I have my highest poll numbers ever with African Americans? Why do I have among the highest poll numbers with African Americans? I mean, why do I have my highest poll numbers? That's such a racist question. Honestly, I mean, I know you have it written down and you're going to tell me. Let me tell you, it's a racist question.
And Mr. President, I want to
love
ask.
it. You know what the word is? I love our country. I do. You have nationalists, you have globalists. I also love the world, and I don't mind helping the world, but we have to straighten out our country first. We have a lot of problems.
And Miss.
Excuse me, but to say that, what you said, is so insulting to me. It's a very terrible thing that you said.
And Mr.
Okay,
President,
go ahead.
Mr. President,
ahead.
people have you
Go
talked
ahead.
about
Excuse me.
middle class tax cuts on the campaign trail. How will you get Democrats to support that policy? Or
You have to
support
ask
that?
them.
Well,
Hey,
what's your plan for
excuse
working
me.
with
You know
Democrats
what
on a
my
middle
plan
class
is?
tax plan?
You know what my plan is? I'll ask them.
You know what my plan is? You know what my plan is? To attack black journalists. You know what my plan is? You know what my plan is? Sit down. You're black and your lips are moving. That's double bad. 818-985-5735 is the phone number. That's 818-985-KPFK. Let me see. First up, let's talk to Paul calling from Santa Ana.
Hey, Jerry, I wanted to ask a quick question of you. I mean, I totally think that Trump is racist. The people are behind him, no question. I mean, the level of racism is incredible. It's unbelievable. But my question is, do you think, I heard him say something about, I could work with the Democrats to resolve health care. Do you think that the Democrats, the Democratic Congress would actually, do you think there's a faction there that's going to try to actually work with him to do health care?
Well, worthless Nancy Pelosi, and I say worthless because she's trapped in a bubble of amber and she's still practicing politics in Congress as though it's the 1970s, talking about, well, yes, we have to find a way to work with the Trump administration. No, you don't. Your job is to throw his ass in jail, period. You read me, Pelosi? You throw his orange Cheeto fried ass in jail. That's why you're in office. You're not there to negotiate with Nazis. You're not there to negotiate with fascists. You're there to bend them to the will of the law, period.
All right. It sounds like you have an opinion on that one, man. I can't believe it either. It would be like, whoa, look.
You can't. In the first place, Chuck Schumer has to be retired. He must be retired politically. It is completely inappropriate. He literally made sure before Congress went out of session that a raft of Trump's judges were passed through. No, this is not. Stop trying to play the long game. Like, well, we want to have a particular posture because when the Democrats are back in power, we want them to act this way. No, don't be stupid, Democrats. Nothing you do, there is no behavior that you can engage in that when you are in power will make the Republicans respect you or come along for the ride. They are a group of Nazis, and unless you're down for their Nazi plan, they're not down for you. There is no posture the Democrats can take that will be supported by Republicans because it has become a party of American Nazis.
Yeah. I think you're right.
Thanks for the call, buddy. Appreciate hearing from you. Take your calls at 818-985-5735. That's 818-985-KPFK. Let me see. Next up, let's talk to Edison. And Edison's calling from Los Alamitos. Edison, welcome to the show. What's the deal? Yep.
Yeah, thanks for the call. Thanks for taking my call. I mean, you're concerned about the Jews being discriminated against and physically attacked.
I'm already tense with the way you said Jews. I'm already tense with what's going to come out of your mouth, but please continue.
No, okay. Well, don't worry. I think the most dangerous place for Jewish people in America right now is on college campuses.
Okay, I'm halfway to
The
cutting you
Jewish guy
off.
can't-
What is your point? Are you attacking
I mean,
which group is
I
it that
agree
you're
with you.
against? Which group are you against?
No,
Just be honest.
I think that more attention has to be paid. You have to.
Okay, see, that's what happens. Racists, they stutter. They because they can't handle it when you won't allow them to try to dress up their racism or anti-Semitism or misogyny or xenophobia in some florid of language. No, cut to the chase. You hate the Jews, don't you? If it's not them, it's the blacks. Just tell me who you hate so we can move on. 818-985-5735 is the phone number. That's 818-985-KPFK. I gave you a significant opportunity. You just couldn't spit it out. You were looking for a way to talk around your oppression, and I didn't give you that space. 818-985-5735 is the phone number. That's 818-985-KPFK. Let me see. Next up, let's talk to Lorena, and Lorena is calling from Whittier. Lorena, welcome to the show. What's the dealio? Oh, Andrea, I'm sorry. Let's talk to Andrea. Andrea's calling from West Hollywood. Andrea, welcome to the show. What's the dealio?
Oh, hey, Jerry. How are you?
Good.
Good. I love your show. Thank you so much. I listen every day.
Thank you.
I just wanted to say, did you know that Trump also called Paradise, California, Pleasure, California? That's how stupid he is.
Yeah, I think he is stupid because of his ignorance and insensitivity, and I believe he is also has burgeoning and expanding organic impairments as well. And it's difficult for him to construct a sentence that's grammatically accurate.
But he doesn't. It's like he can't even show enough respect to name the town accurately.
You're exactly right.
It's so ridiculous. And also, I just wanted to comment that nobody talks about the fact that incarcerated firefighters fought alongside all of these other firefighters for $2 a day, and they can't get jobs when they get out of prison. They're trained by firefighters. They go and they fight these fires, and they can't get a job when they get out of prison. It's ridiculous.
You're exactly right. You know,
It drives me bananas.
I had family locked up at Susanville, and this family member was in a fire brigade out of Susanville, and they go to fight these fires all over the state. And can
he get a job after? When
no,
he
wasn't able to get a job when he came out. But by also, this is how. Like, I probably shouldn't talk about this on air, but I'm going to because it was so chilling when you told me the story. It's so weird at some of these. In the first place, these inmates that do this work are doing the exact same work and some of the hardest, more difficult, backbreaking work of all the work that's happening. For all of a dollar an hour while they're out there, while they're working shoulder to shoulder with firefighters that are earning as much as $1,000 a day, and good on them. They deserve whatever they're paid. They deserve it. Period. But it's so that. I knew someone who was at Susanville, and they were in one of the white boy bunks. Like, it's very race, it's everything is driven by race there. And because this person I knew was black, everything was fine with the white people there, as long as there was no racial problems, no tension. As long as you're in your proper car, it's all good. There was an officer there, a CO, a young white guy, who was a white supremacist and would spend his weekends, his time off, hanging out in the barracks with the white supremacists. My cousin said he knew how crazy it was, right? Because one of his friends told him the story. He knew how crazy it was when he saw this CO having his head shaved with a straight razor by other white supremacists. On one of his days off on the weekends. Yeah, so what else are white supremacist COs carrying out for white supremacists in prison? Because I'll tell you one thing that's not happening is there's no black COs going and hanging out with organized black gang members on the weekends at prison.
I totally hear you. I have a very, very dear friend who's in prison. He's at Wasco, and the stuff he tells me is so unbelievable, like what happens in solitary confinement. I mean, it is crazy. And the racism that they continue to just perpetuate. You know, they feed the system that keeps these guys just fighting
Prison
each other.
is a reflection. Prison is an accurate reflection of the racism that exists in our society.
Absolutely.
But we pretend as though, no, that's some weird other counterculture that's totally different. Everything's distilled into poison. No. There's an accurate reflection of the racial animosity and divides that exist in our society. It's accurately reflected. That is a perfect mirror for U.S. society, because it's just that on the outside, we haven't accepted the fact that we're this racist and that everything is this stratified. It doesn't have to be. We don't need to be. But the first thing that has to happen is the same thing in terms of misogyny. The first thing that has to happen is the oppressors, the men, got to realize this is not cool. We got to stop it. We got to shut it down.
Right.
There's not enough talk in the world for women to talk men out of their misogyny, and there's not enough talk in the world for people of color to talk white people out of their racism.
I totally agree with you. I feel like, you know, it's like, listen, I know you got a lot of people to talk to, but when I was in college, right here in Los Angeles, I went to a really great progressive university, totally steeped in social justice, and this guy in my class, this black guy, we were doing this workshop. It was all on counting the homeless and taking part in the census. But we sat through this workshop, and they go through all the demographics and the populations and how it breaks down in Los Angeles by gender and race. And, you know, and at the end of the whole presentation, the guy's like, so basically, you know, the largest population in Los Angeles, Mexican, and then you have whites and then blacks, and then he breaks it down by gender. And, you know, essentially what it is that black men are in prison, are incarcerated, and they're the highest population on the street, but they're not the largest population in Los Angeles. And this black guy in class goes, wait a minute, let me understand this. We aren't even the largest population in the city, but we are the largest incarcerated and living on the streets. Why are we still being hunted? How can we still be the bad guy? There aren't enough of us out there to be the bad guy.
I think there's a direct... I'm sorry, please continue.
It's just such a systemic problem, and it's like, I don't have to dig that deep to know this. This is such obvious information. It drives me crazy that people are not talking about it and people don't care. I feel like having a friend in prison is really a gift. It's really a gift, because the education I get just from knowing him and trying to help him out.
It exposes you. It shines a light on an issue and a broad set of problems and oppressions you weren't aware of until it hit someone you knew.
Yeah, I'm really grateful for it. But I just thought what that guy said in class too was just so, you know, just
right.
Unbelievable.
I think there's a direct linkage between voter suppression and the fact that if you are a vote suppressor, if you're a stealer of votes, you can steal hundreds of thousands of votes from African Americans. You can steal millions of votes from African Americans, and you have no expectation of ever going to prison. It is the exact same thing if you are a law enforcement officer. You may murder any black person you want and do it on camera, and you will have no expectation of going to prison. And there is a linkage between vote suppressors and vote stealers having no expectation of going to prison, and the duality of broken, murderous police officers murdering as many of us as they want and having no expectation of going to prison. And because there's a link there, and the linkage is more than aesthetic. They're linked in their lethality, and they're linked in their solution. The solution is the same. If you steal votes and suppress votes, we're locking your ass up. We don't care what your race is. We don't care how much money you make. If you steal votes, you're going to prison for decades, not for a year, for decades. And if you kill black bodies in the streets, you're going to jail for decades. And until we get serious about prosecuting broken, murderous police officers, and until we get serious about prosecuting the Klan members stealing millions and millions of votes and disenfranchising people, until we see the linkage between the vote suppressors and the murderers of black bodies, until we see that linkage and make them pay for it with prison sentences, we're going to continue to walk down this broken, dark street.
I'm just nodding my head, Jerry. I wish you could see me. I'm just nodding my head in full agreement with you. It's just,
We can
I'm
do
with
better.
you 100%. Yes, I agree with you, and I'm doing what I can, and I know you're doing what you can, and your show is awesome. And, you know, I don't know if you know this, and I want to get off because I know you have a lot of people that you want to talk to, but, you know, these private prison industries they have looked at fourth grade standardized test scores. I'm a teacher. They look at fourth grade standardized test scores in the inner cities and can project how many children, based on these stupid standardized tests, how many will graduate and how many will funnel into the prison system.
Wow.
And it's an algorithm, and that's how they know how many prisons they need to build. And these tent cities they're putting up with all these immigrant families are all privately owned.
Right. Wow. Thank you so much for the call. I really do appreciate hearing from you, Andrea. And I'm going to see if I get my friend Shahid Buttar on from Electronic Frontier Foundation, because Andrea brought up something that very few people are aware of that's going to have an ever-increasing impact on our legal system. It's called algorithm justice, where essentially racist algorithms are used to determine people's eligibility for parole, eligibility for bail, eligibility for release, and a range of other things. Algorithms play a larger and larger role in our lives, whether it's white supremacists using racist algorithms on Facebook to make sure that their properties or their rental properties or homes or jobs are not advertised to people of color, or whether it's the pending new bail system in California that is entirely algorithm-based. So, we're going to definitely be spending some time on that in the coming months. Algorithm justice is a real big thing, and one of the folks at EFF, Shahid Buttar, is really great on that. You should follow him online if you can. We're taking your calls here at 818-985-5735. That's 818-985-KPFK. Let's give a listen to this clip of Ta-Nehisi Coates talking to Chris Hayes on NBC about the problems with Trump's racism, and particularly as directed to Yamiche Alcindor.
On the campaign trail, you called yourself a nationalist. Some people saw that as emboldening white nationalists. Now people are also saying that the president.
It's such a racist
There are
question.
some people that say that now the Republican Party is seen as supporting white nationalists because of your rhetoric. What do you make of that?
I don't believe it. I don't know. Why do I have my highest poll numbers ever with African Americans? That's such a racist question. Honestly, I mean, I know you have it written down and you're going to tell me. Let me tell you, it's a racist question. Excuse me. But to say that, what you said, is so insulting to me. It's a very terrible thing that you said.
It's a racist question. What's going on there?
Well, I mean, it combines Donald Trump's two great loves, racism and misogyny. So that's the first thing that's going on. The second thing is one of the highlights of white supremacy as a force and racism as a force is this kind of truculent, objecting. How dare you? I mean, so you're a racist for actually even implying that, something I said might have been racist. So, I mean, it's typical Trump. I mean, for Yamiche and for, the other, black women who have been insulted like this, over the past week, while it is, completely predictable, I still think it's absolutely outrageous and disgusting. And I think that needs to be said.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm taking your calls here at 818-985-5735. That's 818-985-KPFK. Next up, let's talk to Ian calling from Hemet. Ian, welcome to the show. What's the dealio? All right, let's try talking to Mel calling from La Palma. Mel, welcome to the show. What's the dealio?
Hey, hokahe, or actually, Jerry, yatahe.
Yatahe.
That's the Navajo greeting when they meet somebody on the way. And they say yatahe, which the Navajo who taught me that expression says it means all things are in balance and good. Now, I think it's interesting that you start the segment off with national native news, but then you say things that are so unnative. For example, when you think...
I'm not indigenous, right?
I'm talking about your comments about Nancy Pelosi.
Okay.
And I just wanted to interject this.
Please do.
It's something that Leon Shenandoah, the Tadadaho, the past Tadadaho, that was the chief of chiefs of the Onondaga Haudenosaunee, the Iroquois, he said, participating in change is much different than enforcing it. Because you see, Jerry, we are on the verge of understanding that something John Trudell said. You know John Trudell, right? You remember John Trudell?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And John Trudell had a beautiful poem calling human beings as tribes. And in that poem he says, the power of being waits for human recognition.
Thank you so much for the call, brother. Really appreciate hearing from you. Taking your calls at 818-985-5735, 818-985-KPFK, and just make sure that there's, make sure your Molly's not adulterated, okay? I know you people. I know how you operate on the black web and the dark web and all that. Stay healthy, brother. We're here with you. We're here with you, and we're here for you. 818-985-5735. That's 818-985-KPFK. Next up, let's talk to Matt. And Matt is calling from Fresno. Matt, welcome to the show. What's the deal? Oh. Hey, Matt.
Hello. Yes. Thanks for another great show. First of all, I wanted to give out the Capitol switchboard. Speaking of Cindy Hyde-Smith, I think everybody should call her up and tell her hide's about to be tanned and not in laying out to get the sun. That number is 202-224.
Go ahead, 202-224.
3121. And just let her know we're not appreciating that a sitting senator would say such effed up stuff and she's about to go bye-bye and she can go off to Oligarch Falls or wherever she wants to retire to. And another thing, too, as we're, I think, approaching
she has
opportunity. Pardon?
I'm sorry. Please continue. Go ahead.
Okay. As I think we're approaching opportunity within the next couple of years to have a chance to correct things. And I just want to point out a moment in history. I actually just taped a week ago a really great speech Mitch Jeserich did right here in Fresno for the Veterans Peace. Once I edit it, I'll certainly send you a copy. But he brings up the fact that right after World War I, there was a bit of a vacuum in Germany. And the Weimar Republic was actually, it followed a very leftist attempt where the door was left open. It was like everything was like, sweet, let's, it's open. So the socialists went in and, it was like, post-war, so everything was all messed up and very challenging.
Wait, at the end of World War II?
I'm sorry, one.
World War I, I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah, and then then the communists went in after that, and because of the challenging, framework in which they were working, things weren't able to work out as they envisioned. And then that even ramped up the energy more, and riding on the heels of the Germans being very pissed off that the war was ended when they thought they still would have been able to possibly win. And now they're devastated, humiliated, in debt, so on and so forth. And, the left really tried, and I can understand how it would be a challenge for anybody, but Hitler rode on both that rage of the war ending and the failure within that framework.
The sense of humiliation and defeat the German people had after World War I. Yeah.
And that was the rise of the Nazi Party. So I'm saying we got to be super careful because we're going to have an opportunity now. Let's make this work. Let's communicate. Let's get all public banks. Let's do this smart, and let's listen where, it is a different framework, the soil's different because we're not, we're in wars, but these don't, in fact.
America rarely fights wars on its own soil. And if
and it hardly seems to take any skin off our teeth, except to those that sacrifice themselves. But you look around, everybody's going to Walmart and looking on their phone, and you wouldn't know that there was a war going on at all. Like if you were World War I, World War II.
You're right about that, man. Buddy, thanks for the call. We're taking your calls here at 818-985-5735. That's 818-985-KPFK. I want to play this clip of Trump going after Jim Acosta of CNN last week because as a result of this in exchange, Jim Acosta had his hard pass, had his White House credentials removed so he could no longer perform his job. They were sued in federal court, and they lost. And then after they lost and had to restore Jim Acosta's White House press pass, the White House said, well, the judge said that this injunction only lasts for 14 days. As soon as the 14 days is up, we're going to take Jim Acosta's press pass again. And just making the statement that they were going to take Jim Acosta's press pass again as soon as the 14 days was up was a confirmation that this is a First Amendment violation. They're going to take his press pass again to punish him for what he said to the president. So now the White House is backing down on their promise to take Jim Acosta's press pass again. Let's rewind, selecta, to ground zero. Here's where it all started.
And they're hundreds of miles away, though. They're hundreds and hundreds of miles away. That's not an invasion.
Honestly, I think you should let me run the country. You run CNN.
All right.
And if you did it well, your ratings
Let me
would be
ask,
much
if
better.
I may
Okay,
ask
that's
one other
enough.
question, Mr. President. If I may ask
Peter,
one
go
other
ahead.
question, are you worried?
That's enough. That's
Mr.
enough.
President,
That's
I was
enough.
going to ask one of the other folks.
That's enough.
Pardon me, ma'am. Mr.
Excuse
President.
me. That's enough.
Mr. President, I have one other
Peter,
question,
let's
if
go.
I may ask, on the Russia investigation. Are you concerned that you may have?
I'm not concerned about anything with
you
the
may have
Russian
indictments coming
investigation because it's a hoax.
Are you?
That's enough. Put down the mic.
Mr. President, are you worried about indictments coming down in this investigation?
Mr. President.
I'll tell you what, CNN should be ashamed of itself having you working for them. You are a rude, terrible person. You shouldn't be working for CNN. Go ahead.
I think that's unfair.
You're a very rude person. The way you treat Sarah Huckabee is horrible. And the way you treat other people are horrible. You shouldn't treat people that way. Go ahead. Go ahead, Peter. Go ahead.
In Jim's defense, I've traveled with him and watched him. He's a diligent reporter who busts his
Well, I'm
butt
not a big
like
fan
the
of
rest
yours either, so
I understand.
to be honest.
So let me ask you a question if I can. You repeatedly said...
You aren't the best.
Mr. President, you repeatedly, over the course of...
Okay, just sit down, please. But when you report fake news, when you report fake news, which CNN does a lot of the people. Go ahead.
Mr. President, over the course of the last several days of the campaign, sir, at the end of the campaign, you repeatedly said that Americans need to fear Democrats. You said Democrats would unleash a wave of violent crime that endangers families everywhere. Why are you pitting Americans? Why are you pitting Americans against one another, sir?
Peter, what are you trying to be him?
No,
Peter,
I'm just asking a question.
Let me just tell you.
Okay. Not only did Trump then remove Jim Acosta's press pass for having the temerity to speak, and not only say, and when the 2 weeks is up, now the court has ordered us to restore your press pass. We're going to take it again. Not only did that all that happen, but the Trump White House, this is just madness. This is the only reason Trump is supported by his base is because they are in love with his violent racism. They are slack-jawed, knuckle-dragging troglodytes who enjoy seeing young children on the southern border stolen away from their parents and seeing these children have these wails of misery and pain. These children are going to be affected for the rest of their lives with attachment disorders. And that makes the Trump's base, it makes their nipples hard because they like the misery being delivered to people of color. Taking your calls here at 818-985-5735. That's 818-985-KPFK. Let me see. Next up, let's talk to Sheila calling from Monterey Park. Sheila, welcome to the show. What's the dealio?
Hi, Jerry. I'm writing a check to KPFK as we speak. You were talking about worthless Democrats. My favorite caller, Morris of Long Beach, said it best. The Democrats are paid to lose. Thanks a lot, Jerry.
Thanks for the call. I appreciate it. And thanks for the support of the station. Really appreciate that, too. Without you, we wouldn't be here. So thank you. Thank you, Sheila. You're the reason that that we get to be here doing the work and investing in the work that we're doing. So thank you so much. And thank you to everybody who supported us through the fund drive. We're taking your calls here at 818-985-5735. That's 818-985-KPFK. Let me see. Next up, let's talk to Jay calling from Glendale. Jay, welcome to the show. What's the dealio?
Hey, Jerry. How you doing?
Good.
Love your show. I got to tell you, man, what do you do when you just despise the way the country's going in such a huge way that you just develop.
You find people that are just as upset as you, and you join together, you link arms, and you do some shit together.
But what happens when you become apathetic and you're just so disgusted with this administration and it calling, the press the enemy of the state is probably the worst thing I've seen in my 52 years on this planet. And it's scary. And it makes you just want to get all you can and then just leave this country and just get away and go live in Europe or somewhere.
That's a possibility.
Just get away from this. Man, it's awful.
I got to tell you, Jay, that's it's a possibility, right? I mean, I was thinking about doing that myself, right? Because it's a lot taking in all the racism, the hostility in this country, and I was working overseas, and I was going to stay in Europe and teach there, and was offered entirely too much money for the work that I would have been doing, and free luxury housing and free health care, and I was super happy to do it, and I signed the agreement with this prestigious elite university, and 4 days later, Trump won, and all I had succeeded in doing, truly, was creating a luxurious lifeboat for me and my family to float off to Europe in and wave slowly as our village burns in the distance.
Yeah.
So, that was immediately available to me. I wasn't available. I had already signed up for it because Trump hadn't won. I didn't expect him to win. And then when Trump won, it made me reassess my life and reassess what I was doing with my life. And I realized that I couldn't just screw around on these bucolic campuses, being well compensated and having people smile and embrace you when you walk in the room because they're happy you're there. And I need to come back and fight and get down with the hippies and do what we can to resist. So I came back for the fight. Brother, I'm telling you, if you life in exile away from the fight, you're going to miss us. You're going to miss our dirty hippies when you're over there, hanging out, smoking your hookah pipes, or you're, drinking your German beer, or smoking your weed in Amsterdam, wherever you get off to. You are in other places in the world. You are going to regret not having stayed and been part of this fight.
Well, we're lucky to have you, man, and we're glad you stayed. And it's been, your show has been very beneficial and helpful. But it's just a sad state that we're in right now, and it's just, it's really hard not to become apathetic and not to become just self-centered and say I'm going to make all mine and go, like you said, float off into the sunset, and then just forget about just how this country.
It's hard to have more than 2 cycles of alternating between sadness and outrage. It's hard to have extra cycles.
But what's really difficult too is genuinely loving this country, being so grateful for the opportunities presented. Because I'm half Asian, and we immigrated here, and I did pretty well for myself, and I'm very grateful for that. Mm-hmm. But it's just so sad just to be living during this current administration and seeing how fast we've fallen.
Right.
As a country, and then seeing,
But Jay, the reason we fell that fast is because we never addressed racism. It was a monster always waiting for us to fall out of the bed, and we fell out of the bed, and now we're wrestling on the floor with this goddamn thing.
You are so right about that. And again, I've been very blessed, but I've been a victim of racism, by my own friend.
Right.
It's just.
If I had $1 for every white person I thought was a friend who said or did something racist, I'd have several $1,000s.
So ingrained, I've met, I've worked for some wonderful people when they met my wife. Like, I didn't expect that. Why not?
Mm-hmm.
Because you're Korean and she's an attractive white woman. So, what is that just so impossible to believe?
Yeah, well, is it impossible to believe that you are a beautiful, attractive Korean? What's your problem, dude? She knows what she's getting. She knows what the package is. She knows what she wants.
But you just kind of let that go, because you just what are you gonna do? I don't know what to do, man.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do.
You're right. I hear
mean,
you, brother. It's really frustrating. It's maddening to have to fight the same grind over and over. We're literally talking about broad voter suppression and voter disenfranchisement in the 21st century, deep 18 years into 2 decades into the 21st century, and we're talking about voter suppression the same way we were 60 years ago.
Pathetic. It's just so pathetic. Anyhow, listen, thank you so much, Jerry. Keep doing the work you're doing. We need you. We need you, brother.
Thanks for the call, Jay. Appreciate your positive vibes and thoughts, man. Taking your calls here at 818-985-5735. We're going to try to squeeze in a few more calls before the hour's up. Next up, let's talk to Daryl calling from Long Beach. Daryl, welcome to the show. 30 seconds less. What's the deal?
Hey, Jerry, how's it going?
Good.
Good. I had a question, more academic in nature, I guess, about the evolution of the Jewish electorate from kind of embracing Trump because he was very pro-Israel at the beginning of his presidency, and now as anti-Semitic attacks have kind of propagated throughout the nation, he seems to still retain his pro-Israel stance, but I have a lot of friends who are Jewish, my girlfriend's Jewish, and their families have a lot of really complex opinions about how to feel about Donald Trump, and I was wondering if you just had any opinions yourself about it.
I think, Donald Trump is an anti-Semite, demonstrably and provably so. Beyond him being an anti-Semite is the fact that the politics of Israel make the politics of American Jews complex and layered and sometimes contradictory. And, you know, you can believe in and support whomever or whatever you want. But the net is there are many, many American Christians who do not consider themselves to be anti-Semites, and they simply want to use the Jews for the end of the world. So, you know, like there's a broad, the evangelicals I'm referring to, there's a broad swath of American society with so many different types of baked-in resentments and anti-Semitisms that much of that meets within Trump world, and within that same zone, you will also find some steadfast supporters of Israel that are also, you know, Trump, his daughter and her husband were at that massacre in Jerusalem where they shot 2,700 Palestinians on the fence in Gaza as they were drinking pomegranate juice and strawberry juice and celebrating the new U.S. Embassy. The net is the contradictory and conflicted policies of both Israel and the United States and the Middle East leaves room for all kinds of different strange bedfellows, and even and very much it leaves room for strong supporters of Israel that embrace Trump in spite of his anti-Semitism.
Absolutely, and I just feel like, I mean, my personal proximity, like I'm Gentile, so I haven't really been fully familiar with just how prevalent the pro-Israel movement has been among the Jewish community for the last, since the inception of the Jewish state, and it's a really difficult discussion that a lot of younger Jewish people have to have with their older members of their generation, their parents and their grandparents, because they see Trump as a vile, racist, anti-Semitic troll, essentially, and
is it enough that he supports Israel? Or is it, even though he supports Israel, this is a problem? Bro, thanks for the call. I really appreciate hearing from you. This show is produced by myself and Jose Benavidez. Our board operators in Gary Baca. And it's real important. Follow us online. Go to YouTube and search for Jerry Quickly. Hit subscribe. Our numbers are getting up each week. We send out new videos every day. You can also follow me online using the handle @JerryQuickly on Twitter. Again, that's @JerryQuickly on Twitter. And check us out on SoundCloud. Go to SoundCloud.com/THLive. SoundCloud.com/THLive. That's it, y'all. Till tomorrow.